Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Steve Moran Selects. We're here to preview Tatts Cox Plate Day at Moonee Valley. And Steve, the sun's shining at the moment, but the weather forecast not outstanding for Saturday. So is that going to play a role?
Well, it remains to be seen, of course. The track would be in a good condition as we speak at the moment. Would probably need fairly significant rain on the day to have an influence on Moonee Valley, particularly being the Strathair surface. Let's hope it doesn't. It would advantage, say, a horse like Who But Got You, perhaps, in the Cox Plate. I don't think it diminishes the prospects of the horse that we'll all be there to see, and so you think no such thing as a certainty, odds on, look on, all of those things, but he looks less vulnerable than most good horses going into a major race at a short quote because of his adaptability. I mean, he can lead. We saw him lead all the way last year, run the second quickest time since Might and Power. He can camp off the speed. He can be ridden from behind. So from that point of view, he's entitled to be a short price favourite in this year's Cox Plate, so you think.
That, of course, is the headline act, Australia's Weight for Age Championship. It's sort of been billed as his race, but we're forgetting some of these other horses that are in there. Steve, why don't you take us through your selections? No doubt he's on top of them, but More Joyous has garnered plenty of attention leading into this race as well, and we can't forget horses like Zipping and the like.
Well, as she should, More Joyous, 8 wins in a row, including 3 Group 1s. Trained by Gay Waterhouse. I can't think of too many horses who would have won 8 in a row and not started favourite the next time they stepped out, but she's probably as much as $8 in some markets at the moment. Untried at Moonee Valley, she has galloped there, and according to Nash Rawiller, handled it well. Untried at the 2040, but I don't see that as a major issue. I think given the way she's raced of late, I think she will cope with the trip. And to win a two-rack handicap with 58 for a mare, conceding weight to all her rivals, that was a fantastic performance. If she stepped out and caused what is going to be considered an upset win, it wouldn't be a shock to me. Maybe a couple of these other horses, if a Shootout won, that would be a bit of a shock, given the relative form of, say, Shootout and So You Think this spring. We've got a wild card in the New Zealander Wall Street. I think it was not to be underestimated, and his ability to race on the speed, if desired, gives him that little extra string to his bow. And Zipping, who's run third and second, of course, or second and third in the past 2 years. First older horse home last year. And if it did, by any chance, become a war of attrition, he's the one horse who would appreciate that. Maybe even if they rolled the dice and got going a long way from home, a la a Northerly or perhaps even a Bone Crusher, that could set a cat amongst the pigeons. But he looks pretty much bomb-proof to me, So You Think.
Alrighty, well, one of the other races we're really looking forward to on Saturday is the Schweppes Stakes. We expected Haylist to be there, he's not, and we weren't sure whether Black Caviar would be, and she is.
And the fact that she is, I think you take as a real positive, because Peter Moody has demonstrated, I think, amongst a lot of things in the last 12 months or so, that he's rapidly becoming the best trainer in the country, if not already. He's got this remarkable patience. He's already tipped out horses like Eclair Surprise. He's taking a conservative path with Anachieva, the Guineas winner. He wasn't going to run Black Caviar unless he was 100% happy. She draws gate 2, Hot Danish 1, small field. You can't really see any other scenario than her leading, Hot Danish sitting on her back. Now, I'd say this is the best field she's probably taken on. Hot Danish has won 8 of 10 at 1,200 metres, a brilliant record on top of the ground. So I don't think it'll be a cakewalk, but I think you have to tip Black Caviar because, again, she'll be able to dictate the terms of the race. Maybe take the Quinella with Hot Danish. I don't think that Eagle Falls and True Persuasion, those horses who ran okay behind Haylist and the Manicato, could cause an upset here. But Hot Danish, Melito's first up. She's got a better record second up than first up. She'll run well. But it's going to be a fantastic race, and I think it is Black Caviar, Hot Danish, the two mares.
All right, well, the Cathay Pacific Airways Cup is a most important race for several horses here trying to find their way up the order of entry for the Melbourne Cup. None more so than precedence for Bart Cummings.
Certainly, he draws the right spot. It's been well documented. Reg Fleming, who looks after the horses here in Melbourne for Bart, said after the Herbert Power, he feels the horse needs to get to the outside. He did that in the JRA Cup on this track, Moonee Valley, won so impressively. Finished a fair margin ahead of Mudra in the Herbert Power, who ran so well again in the Geelong Cup behind American. I think he's probably the horse to beat, but I respect the opinion of those that think it's D-Day. He's got to step out and do it now in one of these 2,400, 2,500 metre races. I suspect he will. You can't ignore the obvious with above average, having run third to Harris Tweed and exceptionally. They, of course, then placed in the Caulfield Cup and Geelong Cup. Jessica Biel, doesn't seem to matter where you finished in the Turnbull, as we saw last week in the Caulfield Cup. So I think she's ready to run a bit of a race. And I reckon there's a roughie here if he sneaks into the field. One emergency in the race, C. Gallion. If he gets a run, he's the leader. His run at Caulfield was fantastic, and he might be the best roughie on the program if he sneaks in.
All right, well, there's your best roughie on the program. What about your best bet and your best each way?
Best bet, I'm going to go with Katie Lee, the New Zealand mare, in the final race. Her win, second up at Hastings, was spectacular, coming from last to beat quality opposition. She's got form around Keep the Peace, of course, who ran third to Wall Street and Ginga Dude last start in New Zealand. 18 starts, 8 wins, 16 top threes. I think she just might be better than these mares. Strawberry Field, terrific. Gate 16 to contend with. Preventable, interesting runner. Chasing 5 in a row, probably leads. At least by that stage of the day, we'll know whether barrier 2 and leading's any plus. But I think she might be pretty smart, Katie Lee.
And your best each way?
Best each way, I'm going with Poor Judge, who ran so well on the Toorak. Best of the on-pace runners there in what was a pretty good Toorak this year. Drawn 11, but harking back to some of his early runs, he doesn't necessarily have to lead. And I think if Darren Gauci can just have a fraction of luck in the first 400, slot in, I think it'd be too good, Poor Judge. It was a cracking run in the Toorak.
Well, there you go. There's all of Steve Moran's suggestions for this weekend, Tatts Cox Plate Day. You can find all of his bets in this week's edition of Best Bets. You'll pick it up at your nearest news agency. Steve, thanks for your time.
Terrific, Sean. Look forward to seeing you at the Valley.
We'll be there, and we hope you are too.